You ever see another kid solving Rubik's Cubes with their feet while your kid's licking a window? That feeling right there? That's the beginning of the comparison trap. We tell ourselves it's harmless, that it pushes kids, motivates them, makes them try harder. But what if those little comparisons aren't helping at all? What if they're quietly rewiring your child's self-worth and weakening your connection? Because once you understand what comparison actually does to their brain, you'll never look at those comments the same way again. In this video, I'll show you exactly how comparison reshapes your child's inner voice, affects their brain development, and most importantly, what to do instead. The hidden cost of comparisons. Comparisons always feel like it's about the child, but let's be honest, it usually starts with us, not because we're cruel, not because we're trying to mess them up, but because deep down, we're scared. Scared they'll fall behind. Scared they'll struggle. Scared they won't fit into a world that's already moving a million miles an hour. And in this hyper-connected TikTok scroll, Montessori by age 2, every kid has a startup before puberty world, that fear hits hard. Because falling behind doesn't just feel like they're failing. It feels like we are. So we start collecting data like anxious little PhDs in competitive parenting. Clipboard in one hand, panic in the other. When did Maya start reading? Why is Liam already doing fractions? How come their kid can sit through dinner without launching a meatball across the room like a trebuchet? And without realizing it, we start measuring our kid's worth against someone else's timeline, someone else's strengths, someone else's curated highlight reel from that one overly competitive Facebook mom who posts report cards like Oscar nominations. But every kid blooms, just not all in the same season. And here's what that really does. It turns childhood into a performance, and it turns your child into a project, not a person, not a little human growing at their own pace, but a checklist with arms and sticky fingers and somehow always missing one sock. Suddenly, it's not about their joy. It's about their benchmarks. Not about curiosity, but about comparisons. They start to feel like their worth is something they have to prove every day. Like being okay isn't enough. They have to be exceptional. And exceptional in the same way as that other kid. You're not building confidence. You're building conditional self-worth. And here's the thing about conditional self-worth. It only lasts until they mess up, until they fall short, until they meet someone better. And when that happens, it doesn't push them to grow. It teaches them to hide. Identity confusion starts early. When kids are constantly compared, even in subtle, offhand ways, they start to form one of two core identities. I'm better than them, or I'm worse than them. Neither one is healthy, because here's what they really become. The first kid, that better than kid, they grow into perfectionists, anxious achievers who feel like they're only as good as their last gold star. And the second, they shrink. They wrestle with low self-worth, quiet shame, and this sinking fear that they'll never measure up, no matter how hard they try. And the wild part, this starts way earlier than you'd think. Studies show kids as young as 4 begin shaping their sense of worth based on how they're compared to their peers. 4, that's preschool. They barely figured out how to operate pants, and we're already setting up a scoreboard. Liam drew a better triangle? Guess I'll give up now and become a professional crayon eater. And here's the part that really stings. Even praise can backfire when it's wrapped in comparison. You're smarter than your sister. You're the best reader in your class. You're way more mature than other kids your age. Sounds encouraging, right? But all it really says is you're valuable because someone else isn't. And that's a fragile pedestal. Because the second they lose that edge, when their sister gets a better grade, when another kid outreads them, it doesn't feel like a small loss. It feels like they've lost you. Quick pause. If this is hitting home so far, take 2 seconds and hit that subscribe button. Sticko appreciates the love. We break down parenting like this every week. Real talk. No shame. Just tools to raise emotionally resilient humans. And stay sane while doing it. All right, back to it. Because here's the truth that hurts a little. When comparisons become a pattern, even love can start to feel like a contest. And that's not how a kid should experience home. But what about motivation? Now, you might be thinking, okay, but a little comparison is motivating, right? It pushes them to work harder. Here's the truth. External comparison is a terrible long-term motivator. It creates pressure, not passion. Fear, not focus. compliance, not curiosity. Instead of wanting to learn because something excites them, they learn because they're afraid of getting left behind. Or worse, afraid of disappointing you. That's not motivation. That's survival mode. Yes, you want your child to thrive, but nobody thrives in a system where they feel like they're always racing someone else, especially when that someone else might be in a totally different phase, learning style, temperament, or neurotype. Imagine being judged for your running speed when someone else is riding a bike. That's what child comparison feels like to the kid. The sibling spiral. Let's talk about the front lines of comparison warfare. Siblings. If you've got more than one child, the temptation is constant. Why can't she be more focused like her brother? Why isn't he as responsible as his sister? They're raised the same. Why are they so different? Here's the truth. Siblings are not clones. They're not born to fill the same roles in your house. And they will not, should not, follow the same path. When you compare siblings, you're not encouraging them. You're pitting them against each other in a silent competition for your approval. That tension doesn't just disappear. It grows up with them into adulthood, into every relationship, into how they see themselves long after they've left home. Want to raise emotionally secure kids who support each other instead of competing with each other? Start by celebrating their differences out loud. Make it obvious that you value who they are, not how they measure up. What to do instead? Shift from comparison to curiosity. Okay, so you get it. Comparison equals bad. But what should you actually do instead? Here's the mind shift. Move from comparison to curiosity. Instead of, why aren't they like that kid? Ask, what does my kid need right now? Instead of, she should be reading by now. Try, what's her learning style? What excites her? Instead of, he's behind. Say, he's on his path. How can I support it? This shift sounds small, but it's everything. It moves you out of judgment and into observation. It turns you from a critic into a coach. It shows your child that you're not measuring them, you're seeing them. That is powerful. Because when your child feels seen instead of compared, they feel safe. And safety is what unlocks learning, growth, and emotional connection. Not pressure, not fear, just trust. Rooted parenting, not reactive parenting. At the root of comparison is fear. We fear our child won't succeed. We fear they won't fit in. We fear what others will think of us as parents. But parenting from fear never works. It makes you reactive, controlling, and anxious. And your kids feel that energy, even if you never say it out loud. Instead, practice rooted parenting. Parenting from a grounded place of confidence, self-trust, and presence. Remind yourself, you're not behind. Your child is not a reflection of someone else's child. You're both allowed to grow slowly, differently, imperfectly. Rooted parenting doesn't mean you don't care about progress. It means you care more about connection than competition. The long game, what they'll remember. Your child probably won't remember what age they learned multiplication, but they'll remember how you reacted when they struggled with it. They won't remember how fast they ran compared to their cousin, but they'll remember whether you clapped for them. They won't remember every report card, but they'll remember if home felt like a scoreboard or a safe place to land. You're writing their inner voice right now. Every time you praise their effort over their ranking, every time you celebrate their uniqueness over their comparison, you're reinforcing a belief they'll carry for life, that they are enough, as they are right now. Final thoughts. You versus you. Here's the wild twist at the end of this. The real comparison isn't between your child and other kids. It's between you and the parent you thought you had to be. It's the version of you that never loses their temper, that always nails the bedtime routine, that raises the perfectly polite, always ahead child. That parent doesn't exist. But the real you, the one showing up, learning, rethinking, breaking old patterns, that's the parent your child actually needs. So let the other kids juggle. Let them master state capitals and wear pants voluntarily. You got your own kid and your own weird, wonderful, occasionally window-licking path to walk together. Just maybe keep some Windex handy, and that's more than enough.